Pulkit, please sit down.
Thank you, sir.
Pulkitbajaj.
Yes, sir.
But do you keep your hands behind? You don't want to show your hands? You know, body language talks if you show your hands back, hide your hands. That means you have something to hide. Do you have something to hide from the board?
No, sir.
Then keep it, never keep it behind, okay?
Yes.
All right, Pulkit. Introduce yourself to the board members.
So
What have you been doing since your graduation?
I am Pulkit Bajaj. I was born and raised in Delhi. I did my schooling from Springdale School, Khusa Road. I did my MBBS from Maulana Azad Medical College. And currently I am practicing as an anesthesiologist in the Department of Anesthesia at GTB Hospital.
Is there a situation where you give anesthesia and the patient never comes back? He is gone forever. Is there a situation?
Yes, sir. There are certain situations where...
How it happens?
So it can be due to a variety of reasons. The number one is if there is a fault from the operator, that the dose of the drug hasn't been titrated well enough, or the maximum dose of a drug has been exceeded. Otherwise, it can also be due to an adverse event that cannot be predicted due to a patient factor. And otherwise, sometimes we administer anesthesia for a long duration, which is carried on even after surgery, looking at the patient's condition. And sometimes it's better to keep the patient under anesthesia and not wake him up right after surgery.
So what precautions you take when you do anesthesia?
So the first step is a pre-anesthetic checkup where we take the patient's history in a very detailed manner and we physically examine the patient. We take into account all his comorbidities, which he might be having, and all the medications that he's on. Then we look at the BMI, the height and the weight of the patient to calculate our doses. And we find out if there is any allergy that the patient has to see if any drug is contraindicated in that manner.
Okay, very good. Of all the branches you learned, anatomy, physiology, biochemistry, pathology, microbiology, forensic medicine, pharmacology, ENT, what makes you the happiest when you practice? Which branch makes you the happiest?
So I would say my current branch makes me the happiest. Yes, sir.
Why so?
So the first experience I had of practicing medicine was during the second wave of COVID pandemic. And I was posted in a COVID ICU at that point. And I could see the benefits that anesthesia as a branch had on patients directly. So that is what prompted me to take up this specialty as a profession.
You are very happy about it. Yes. Then why do you join civil service? You be happy where you are.
Sir, my primary motivation to join medicine was my will to serve the people. And I just believe that this opportunity gives me a chance to do that on a wider scale and face more diversity of challenges as well.
But if you dispense anesthesia to all the citizens of India, they will be in a coma. They will not know whether it is development or underdevelopment. So that how do you avoid giving anesthesia in development process? You understand me?
I'm sorry, sir, I don't.
Okay, you don't worry. We will ask about movies and series based on historical events. Recently, one film got maximum Oscar award. Which is that?
So Oppenheimer.
Oppenheimer, what do you understand the essential theme of Oppenheimer in 2-3 sentences?
So there are 2 or 3 themes in that movie. The number one is...
3 themes, let us say one theme.
So the number one is the ethical dilemma that Robert Oppenheimer faced while developing the bomb. Secondly, it was the McCarthyism in the US that was popular at the time, which led to his being indicted for alleged communist links. And the third one is the actual development of the Manhattan Project, which led to the formation of the atomic bomb.
Before Hiroshima and Nagasaki, the bomb was exploded before itself. Where it was?
So the test was conducted in New Mexico state of the US, where the tests were conducted.
Why Cillian Murphy is considered to be the best actor? What is his, as an actor, what do you think he has demonstrated in the character portrayal?
Sir, in that particular film, he has been able to embody the ethical dilemma in a very appreciable way, is what I would say. And he has, with his expressions and his dialogue delivery, he has brought about certain facets of Robert Oppenheimer's personality, as has been regarded well by many historians as well.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
You were talking of this dilemma. This reminds me of some play of Shakespeare, where this dilemma was very well captured. Do you remember which play Shakespeare?
Sir, I'm sorry.
You don't no idea about plays and Shakespeare, and might have that in schools.
Sir, as far as I remember,
To be or not to be, that is the question. That is a very famous lines. Have you read about or heard about it?
sir, at this point, I'm not able to remember it. I'm sorry.
You have not read Shakespeare in the school level, +2 level, or in graduation?
I have read it in school level, but it's been a long time, and I'm sorry, I'm not able to remember it at this point.
You read today's newspaper?
Yes, sir. All not entirely, but yes, some parts of it. Yes.
UN has passed some resolution on some issue, and India had taken a certain stand on that. Which issue the resolution was moved, and which country moved it, and what was the issue?
So the resolution was moved on the issue of condemning Islamophobia around the world, and India's stand on it is that we should not put religious phobia in separate brackets, and we should tackle religiophobia as a whole, and it should not be limited to Abrahamic religions but to all religions.
Okay, fine, well said. See, there are different methods of hanging, giving death sentence. Recently, the USA has experimented with a new method. What was the new method, and was it successful?
Sir, I'm sorry, I'm not aware of this fact.
Okay, we are all talking of Viksit Bharat. What do you mean by Viksit Bharat, and what will be the numerical figures, you can say GDP number and per capita income by 2047 when we target to become a developed nation?
Sir, in my mind, Viksit Bharat means not only economic prosperity, but also social justice and equity and equality for all. An India where gender equality as well as social group equality is at the forefront, where everybody has a right to education and health that is of a nature that can be said as quality, as well as environmental sustainability.
Numerical figures, what would be the size of GDP at that time?
Sir, I would say that the size of GDP would be 10 trillion.
10 trillion only by 2047. How big we are now?
Sir, we are close to 4 trillion.
4 trillion, and in 33 years we only rise 2.5 times. Are we moving that slow? What is our GDP growth rate at present?
Sir, it was expected to be 7%.
7%. Now you calculate 23 years with compounding effect. How it will be? You can have simple calculation in your mind and tell me what figure we should reach by that time. 10 trillion is too low a figure.
Sir, it will go above 10.
Above 10 mean how much above 10? There is a certain target has been fixed.
Sir, I'm sorry, I'm not aware of the target.
Per capita income, what would be the per capita income at that point of time? There is a certain definition of per capita income of a developed nation, residential developed nation.
Sir, I'm sorry, I'm not aware of the exact definition.
Okay. See, now this CAA has been implemented. What is the historical background of CAA, and what is the criticism of the CAA?
So the historical background is that since partition of undivided India, India, although remained a secular country, its two neighbors, actually one neighbor at that time, decided to become an Islamic nation, a theocratic nation. And there were extreme number of cases of minorities in that nation being persecuted for the only fact that they belong to a different religion away from the majority. This CAA, which has actually led to a refugee crisis in India from East Pakistan, now Bangladesh, in the 70s. Now the government has decided to fast-track citizenship for religious minorities in these nations, which is has named Afghanistan, Pakistan, and Bangladesh, who can get easier citizenship in India. The debate is that the religions that have been mentioned in the act specifically exclude Islam and include other religions, but they also exclude Jews as well.
Do you think, what did you take? Do you think it is discriminatory?
Sir, I believe that the CAA is a very specific legislation aimed at a very specific purpose.
There are some leaders which are saying that it will open the floodgate of migrations. Is it true? Okay, thank you.
Okay, Pulkit. Pulkit, I understand you are from medical, you're a doctor. And when I look at your DAF, I realize that it took you nearly 8 years to become a doctor. And you come from EWS. You spend a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of effort. Why do you want to change to IAS?
Sir, I would like to clarify that I did not finish my MBBS in 8 years. I joined in 2016. I finished at the right time.
4 years of coaching.
2 years, yes.
2 years of coaching. 2014 you passed out of the school. 2022 you finished your MBBS. 8 years.
Yes, sir.
4 years would have been coaching or whatever you were doing. Or let's make it more simple. 8 years you spent in this to become a doctor. You come from EWS family where the money is a big crunch. Now you're in a state where you have a stable job, where you can give it to the society, you can give it to your family. Why do you want to change?
Sir, the change is towards the goal of my primary objective, that is service. And I believe that on a larger scale, it provides me with a larger canvas. And as I said, diversity of challenges is something that attracts me.
You could have very well done BSc, graduation, left a seat for others to help the public. You have denied people and you want to change your tack. Why?
Sir, as far as denial of seat is concerned, I do not believe it is a denial of seat, since other people have also, the path I've taken has been taken by a lot of people. And the government also puts a graduation degree as a basic requirement for entering this field.
It's your life, you can do what you want. But all I'm trying to look at is that logic, which precludes me as of now. Let's come to the second point. I understand you're an anesthetist.
Yes, sir.
But tell me the role of anesthetist in euthanasia.
Sir, anesthetist has a role in active euthanasia, where the drug that is administered has to be titrated to cause, in a very crude way, death of the patient, but it should not cause pain. So the titration of that drug is done by the anesthetist.
So if the patient is under anesthesia, will he have pain?
So,
As you say, to avoid pain, titration, pain, are they going in tandem? Look at all these aspects. You've done forensic science also. So tell me 4 types of snake venoms.
So one is vascular toxic, which causes blood toxicity, hemotoxic. The other one is neurotoxic.
Okay.
Sir, I'm sorry, I've only read 2.
Okay. Not worry. Let me have the last question on to you. And this is something on a different ground, which will take you away from medical. When I look at the way the management of things are done in the world, air freight is the most expensive, followed by rail, by road, and the cheapest is the waterways. And why is China making BRI, putting so much of money into it, whereas China has got access to Pacific Ocean, Indian Ocean, and even Arctic is melting? Why is China putting in so much of money in BRI?
So the number one reason is that the Malacca Strait, through which a majority of our goods travel, is a choke point. Secondly, this is the age of multimodal transport where any one mode cannot be dependent on. And thirdly, there is an issue of piracy in the Indian and the Indian.
Yeah, thank you. I enjoyed interacting with you. I wish you all the best, Pulkit.
Sir.
Pulkit, how are you today? So your preparation is going well?
Yes.
Okay. Now tell me, what is medical ethics?
So medical ethics is is primarily based on the fact that to do no harm. It came about as a consequence of the doctor's trial after World War II in 1945 and has been prescribed so by the WHO and concurred by the UN. It has certain components like it has to be useful, it has to be safe, and it does not have to cause any harm to the patient, and it should be inclusive as well.
Supposing some patient or patient relatives or family are not satisfied with treatment given in a hospital, they have some grievance against the hospital. What are the mechanisms to address this grievance?
So, in the hospital itself, there is a Rogi Kalyan Samiti, which is started by the state government, where a patient or his attendants can go for any grievance redressal purposes. And they also have a right to a second opinion, where they can get a referral done to a higher center if they are unhappy with the course of treatment.
Any other mechanisms if the hospital, they are not happy with the mechanism available at the hospital?
So they can also go to a consumer court and file a civil suit if they are unhappy with the services, and if they feel that they have any criminal complaint against the practitioners, they can always go and file an FIR and fight a criminal case as well.
They can also go to the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare to conduct an independent inquiry. Okay. Now, we are also very active in healthcare cooperation with various countries. Can you give some examples of our neighborhood where we have set up hospitals for healthcare?
So we have set up hospitals in Mauritius, the Indira Gandhi Children's Hospital, in Afghanistan as well, in Maldives, and we have partnerships with hospitals in Bangladesh as well. A lot of Chinese hospitals also have Indian doctors practicing and teaching in them.
Now you mentioned Afghanistan. There is a change in the government in Afghanistan and we do not recognize the current government in Afghanistan. But still it appears that we are engaging with the government. What are the reasons why we engage with them?
So the main reason is that we have to be mindful of the current reality, that they have come to power. Secondly, we also have to notice that the Taliban of today is not a monolith as it was in approximately 30 years back. And we also have investments in the region that we need to protect. Also, the humanitarian assistance that we are giving cannot be provided without the cooperation of the government of the day.
China also has considerable influence in Afghanistan. So I hear from newspapers and other reports. Why does China have this influence in Afghanistan?
So China has been trying to position itself as a major player in Afghanistan, which is a detraction from their age-old policy. The main reason is that the BRI passes through that region. To protect their investments, they are doing so.
What is China's interest in Afghanistan apart from the road and infrastructure and other investments they have made in Afghanistan?
Sir, Afghanistan can also provide a market for their products since it is...
Some security interest they have in Afghanistan?
Sir, I'm sorry, I'm not aware of that.
Now, in Afghanistan also, a very large number of students come to India for study. Was there any student with you in MAMC from Afghanistan?
No, sir.
We had this vaccine Maitri initiative where we provided vaccines to various countries. And then we have seen that some of the vaccines were not so successful in other parts of the world. So what is the lesson that we learn from this whole experience of trying to create vaccines for tackling COVID?
So the number one thing that we learned was that indigenous R&D is very important because we were mainly manufacturers and not originators of that vaccine. So R&D budget needs to be increased. Secondly, we learned that emergency use authorization should be given for very specific purposes. And it was carried out on a much wider scale, which eventually led to vaccines not working and reducing the trust that people have in vaccines in general.
Okay, thank you.